Due to the collective actions of billions of humans, Earth is headed for an undesirable future. As I have reported many times in this space, the designed-to-fail Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has concluded Earth is amid abrupt, irreversible climate change. The IPCC was created during the Reagan administration in the country of my birth, thereby assuring its failure. The ongoing event results from too many people burning fossil fuels. It is the most abrupt event in planetary history, and it is irreversible. As usual, I present more undesirable information in today's post. According to an article published by the Department of Geography at Northumbria University in the UK, the Arctic had no permafrost when it was 4.5 degrees C warmer than it is today. The article is titled, "Research Reveals Arctic Region Was Permafrost-Free When Global Temperatures Were 4.5 degrees C Higher Than Today." Here's the lead. Quote, "Scientists have found evidence that the Asian continent was free of permafrost all the way to its northerly coast with the Arctic Ocean when Earth's temperature was 4.5 degrees C warmer than today, suggesting that the whole northern hemisphere would have also been free of permafrost at the time." End quote. The following two one-sentence paragraphs tell the horrific tale. Quote, "The stark findings indicate that if global temperatures were to rise by this amount in the future, permafrost found in the northern hemisphere today would thaw. Such a temperature increase would release up to 130 billion metric tons of carbon currently frozen in the ground over the coming decades." End quote. Who are these researchers, and where were the data published? According to the article published by the University of Geography at Northumbria University, the international team of researchers, quote, included experts from Northumbria and Oxford universities in the UK, Bern University in Switzerland, Geological Surveys of Israel and of the United States, end quote. Furthermore, the findings were published in Nature Communications, part of the renowned Nature series of peer-reviewed publications. Before I turn to the peer-reviewed paper, I will use the straightforward language from the University of Geography at Northumbria University. 7 paragraphs in this publication provide an overview of the methods and results of the peer-reviewed paper. Quote, "Cave mineral deposits such as stalagmites and stalactites can only form when rain and snow meltwater seep through soil and rocks, slowly forming deposits in caves below the ground. These deposits cannot form when the ground above the caves is frozen, as it is today across large areas of Siberia and other regions bordering the Arctic Ocean. The study relied on a high-precision technique which uses the radioactive decay of naturally occurring uranium in the deposits to form lead, known as uranium-lead dating. By measuring the tiny amounts of uranium and lead found in deposits obtained from caves in the Tababashtak cliffs in the far north of Siberia in a specialist laboratory at the University of Oxford, the authors of the study were able to determine that the minerals formed 8.7 million years ago during the late Miocene period. The presence of water to form the cave deposits indicates that the ground temperature was above 0 degrees C, meaning that the permafrost currently found in the region was absent 8.7 million years ago. Existing records from other regions demonstrate that, at that time in the past, average global temperatures were 4.5 degrees C higher than those experienced today. This indicates that warming of 4.5 degrees C is sufficient to melt the vast majority of permafrost in the northern hemisphere, with permafrost-free conditions extending all the way to the northerly coast between Asia and the Arctic Ocean. Today's permafrost contains vast amounts of carbon captured as dead plant material is frozen into the soil layer. Thawing of the permafrost would release this carbon back to the atmosphere and would further increase warming." End quote. 3 of the authors of the peer-reviewed paper are then quoted in the article published by the University of Geography at Northumbria University. The first is at Northumbria University. Quote, "Our findings provide direct quantitative evidence that if our climate warms by 4.5 degrees C, the permafrost currently covering Canada, Siberia, Mongolia, America, in fact much of the northern hemisphere, would thaw. Only permafrost in high mountains and deep underground would survive. This thaw would release billions of metric tons of carbon from the ground into the atmosphere, enhancing further warming. This finding is a real warning to us all. It shows how sensitive our climate system is and where we might be headed if we don't act to limit our climate emissions now." End quote. The next quote comes from the first author of the peer-reviewed paper. Quote, "After much searching, we were fortunate to find well-preserved, datable cave deposits in the heart of today's Siberian permafrost. We can see that this present-day tundra region experienced a warmer climate with mean annual global temperatures above 0 degrees C and with permafrost-free conditions. This indicates that most of the Siberian landmass and likely similar regions in the northern hemisphere were permafrost-free when the deposits formed at Tababashtak." End quote. A professor from Oxford is then quoted. Quote, "Caves can be our time machines. They capture a history of the climate and environment for millions of years of Earth history, which we can now read accurately using precise chemical analyses. By doing so, we can predict the future, using past conditions as an analog for the future to understand the impact of the warmer world we are heading into." This new study provides valuable new constraints on the magnitude of warming required to completely destroy permafrost in the northern hemisphere and remove one of the biggest continental stores of carbon. End quote. I now turn to the peer-reviewed open access paper in Nature Communications. Published on July 1st, 2025, it was authored by 11 scholars and titled "Arctic Speleotherms Reveal Nearly Permafrost-Free Northern Hemisphere in the Late Miocene." The abstract of the peer-reviewed paper provides an excellent overview of the research and its findings. Quote, "Arctic warming is happening at nearly 4 times the global average rate. Long-term trends of permafrost dynamics cannot be estimated directly from monitoring of present-day thaw processes, requiring paleoclimate proxy information. Here we use cave carbonates, parenthetically, speleotherms, from a northern Siberian cave to determine when the northern hemisphere was mostly permafrost-free. At present, thick, continuous permafrost in this region prevents speleotherm growth. In a series of partially eroded caves, speleotherms grew during the late Tortonian stage, parenthetically 8.68 plus or minus 0.09 million years ago, a time when the geographic position of this site was already similar to today. Paleotemperatures reconstructed from speleotherms show that mean annual air temperatures in the region were plus 6.6 degrees C to plus 11.1 degrees C. Our findings provide direct evidence that warming to Tortonian-like temperatures would leave most of the northern hemisphere permafrost-free. This may release up to about 130 petagrams of carbon, enhancing further warming." End quote. As I have reported previously in this space, a petagram is 1 trillion kilograms. The release of carbon from the melting of permafrost therefore represents an amount of carbon almost impossible to grasp. The final 2 sentences of the abstract provide a haunting overview. Quote, "Our findings provide direct evidence that warming to Tortonian-like temperatures would leave most of the northern hemisphere permafrost-free. This may release up to about 130 petagrams of carbon, enhancing further warming." End quote. That's exactly what we don't need. Enhancing further warming on an overheated planet is a prescription for additional disasters on a planet already experiencing too many disasters to track.